We're joined now by a former Israeli politician who's emerged as one of his government's biggest critics. Avrum Burg is a former speaker of the Israeli parliament, the Kinesset. He's former chair of the Jewish Agency and the World Zionist Organization. His new book, though, is called The Holocaust is Over. We must rise from its ashes. We welcome you to Democracy Now!
Good morning.
You're headed back to Israel today, but we'd like to talk about another journey. How you went from where you were as head of the Israeli parliament and the Labor Party to where you are today. Talk about your trajectory.
Next question, please. It's not easy, but at the time I felt that the political wars are closing on me. I had a feeling that Israel became a very, very efficient kingdom, but no prophecy. Deeds are being done, decisions are being executed, but the ocean liner got no captain, no vision, no direction. Where is it going? So I started digging into it and looking into it, and the way I think for myself is by writing. So I wrote the first book, which was God is Back. It's about the religious dimension of world conflicts and the Israeli conflictual reality. And then when I finished the book, I read it. And I realized that I didn't write about the other items which supports our identity. And this is the omnipresence of the trauma in our life, which is the Holocaust, which prevents us to trust anybody, to trust ourselves, to trust our neighbors, to trust the world, and therefore creates this kind of a reality. And the minute I realized that this is my inner truth, just published it.
And you talk in the book about how the Holocaust continues to hold so much power and influence over the thinking of Israelis. Could you talk about that some more?
Holocaust was such a trauma that it takes for individuals years, if not more than years, to overcome. And not everybody who was abused as an individual at a young age can overcome and come out of this in a limbo. And for a while, I was not at all sure that Israel and the Jewish people can go out of it. I mean, it happens. And then
Your parents?
My father escaped from Berlin at September 39, which is the very, very last moment. And my mother, who was a seventh generation Israeli, was born in Hebron and is a survivor of the by an Arab family, by the way, of the massacre there. So we were born into a kind of traumatic reality, but we were a trauma-free family. And the more I think about it, the more I thought about it, I understand that it is not about yesterday we remembered and tomorrow we are different people. Oh no, it's a process. And the process, the importance of it is that the generation of my children will be the first generation without any living witness. That will be the generation in which the personal experience becomes a memory. What will be the shape of the memory? A cloning of the trauma or a beginning of the road from trauma to trust? I offer the beginning of the beginning in my book.
But I'd like you to go back further. I mean, you were the speaker of the Israeli Kinesset. You were the head of the World Zionist Organization. Explain that, how you rose to power within the Labor Party and as head of the World Zionist Organization, what it is.
I was for many years a kind of a strange bird, okay? I was born to a father who was the leader of the National Religious Party, and he was for many, many years a member of each and every cabinet of Israel from 48 to 88. That's the year I was elected to the Knesset and he retired. And actually, I knew something about Israeli politics, but my position was different than my father's. It was always more humanistic and less introverted. It was always more universalistic and less nationalistic, etc., etc. I was the founder, one of the founders of the protest movement against the war in Lebanon in '82. And then I walked into public arena and became whatever I became, a young, promising promise.
What happened to you in that protest movement?
First, I protested. And then during this protest, among other things that happened to me, I was wounded in a hand grenade thrown on our rally in Jerusalem, which killed Emil Grinsberg at the time.
Explain what happened.
There was a demonstration against the war in Lebanon and for calling for the impeachment of the foreign minister Ariel Sharon, and there was a hand grenade thrown from the political right side of the map into our rally, killed one of my colleagues, Emil Grinsberg at the time. I was wounded then, and then slowly I walked into the political arena, became an active member of the Labour Party, and rose up at the political ladder. And at the time, I had a feeling that I'm doing the right thing. I'm fighting for peace. So Oslo arrived, and I was part of the Israeli euphoria. I was part of those who made it possible, but supported it, and then Oslo evaporated. Then I was one of the signatories and initiators of the Geneva Accord, and again, it was a civil society effort to push the stone up the hill, and again, it fell down on our heads. And then I said, why isn't it working? So many efforts, and it's not working, doesn't bear fruits. And the reason for me is there is a primary reason before the 67 reason, and this is the grip of the Holocaust over our life. And if we will not get a little bit more relaxed about it and understanding, as difficult and as painful as it is, it cannot be the only sole prism through which we see the world. And then I came to the inner realization that never again for me, it's not never again for Jews only, and therefore we should have the thickest walls around us and the deepest shelter on top of us, but never again is never again for whomever needs my protection, never again whomever is the victim today needs the help of the yesterday's victim to prevent his or her own victimization, be it about a woman, be it Darfuri, be it somebody in the inner city of Detroit, be it wherever it is. Victims are all over the place. And the Holocaust is not mine only to say, I have a monopoly over suffering and that's it. Oh, no.
I'd like to ask you, you were still a leader of the Labour Party in 2000, the last major peace negotiations, the myth that has come down from those days is that the Palestinians walked away from the best possible deal that they could get with Ehud Barak. Could you talk about that time and that period and the assessment that is still so widespread here, especially here in the United States?
It will be very, very difficult to undo the past. And yes, I understand that this is how people remember this period. I'm not at all sure it is right. When you read the memoirs of Bill Clinton and the memoirs of all the people who were involved in the process, you know that Camp David, the second Camp David, was an ill-prepared summit, and the sides were not ready for it. And it was Yasser Arafat who said, I cannot, it's not yet ready. And to say Israel offered everything and then a couple of weeks or a couple of months later went to Taba and offered even more, so how can you offer everything and then offer some more? And I'm not into this. I'm not into the game of you were first and I was second. You started. You are the blame. I'm not into the blame game. I say the past is painful. Let's throw a sand in the line. Let's move forward. Let's create a better tomorrow. And then one day we shall revisit the past. I don't want to argue about the past so much because I become a hostage of the yesterday's genies rather than becoming a liberated person or liberate nation or liberate region. And this is what I'm looking for.
Do you think that the Israeli government should speak with Hamas?
No doubt. I have no doubt about it.
Have you spoken with them?
I'm speaking with everybody who's available, both in the region and around the world. I cannot go to Gaza because it's impossible now, but I see them in the West Bank, I see them in Israel, I see them in London. And I have two things in mind. The first is, I don't remember even one funeral who came out of a dialogue. I remember many funerals coming out of no dialogue and shootings. The second is, I look at the Middle East history. Every time we rejected somebody, we were missing him or her a couple of eras later. Today's extremist is tomorrow's moderate.